that Brian Baldinger, who is the Odyssey NFL analyst, do you kind of laugh when you hear basketball guys talk about physicality when you come from the sport of football?
I do a little bit, but I have, back in the day, played on the same court as some of these NBA players, and their elbows are sharp, and they do possess a lot of power, and they are fast. So there is something about if you were going to low post with LeBron, that might qualify as being pretty physical.
All right, Baldy, I'm guessing if you're like everybody else, you've looked at what the Browns were able to pull off in a draft that we were told was not going to be anything special. And yet a lot of guys that were mocked in the first round at one point, the Browns end up getting 4 of these dudes somehow thanks to Andrew Berry. What did you think in totality of how they did?
I thought Andrew Berry for the second year in a row was pretty surgical. To trade back with Kansas City, to take offers from Dallas, but to get the guy that they wanted, which was Fano, to go right to left tackle and, compete and take that. And then, KC Concepcion, honestly, I thought he was kind of a gadget guy, but the more you studied him, the more you realize, he's just a really good football player. And Denzel Boston, a lot of people had him as the 4th or 5th receiver. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, people had him, for most of the whole process as the 2nd or 3rd best safety. So, you can go on and on and on, but I thought he, last year he crushed it. I thought as many as 6, rookies play, including, Carson Schwessinger, who's the defensive rookie of the year. I thought for the second year in a row, they've really upgraded the talent of this roster.
Baldy, with Fano, we heard so much in the pre-draft process about the arm length thing, and he was trying out and working out for teams, I should say, at different positions, including center. He came here and emphatically said he doesn't think that matters for him because he's athletic enough that he can play the position regardless and play tackle regardless. But do you think we make too big of a deal out of the arm length part of this when it comes to deciding before they even get a chance to play whether or not they can make it at tackle in the NFL level?
Yes, I do. We only started hearing it really in the last 4 or 5 years. And I played for 13 years. I have no idea how long my arms are. I have never even thought about it. I've had shirts, measured and, some clothes made, but I still don't even know what the tailors told me what my arms are. I just think we're how high a guy jumps, or how long his arms are, or I don't know. I don't know what any of it means. You could just watch Spencer play, and you're like, that guy's a great athlete. He stays on his feet. He can change direction. It looks like he could put 20 pounds on. You wouldn't even know it. The way his frame is. I think, yes, to answer your question, yes, I think we make way too much of it. And you could tell me, well, in the 65th percentile of guys with 33-inch arms or less, they just don't. Well, all right, fine. But to your point, let's let them go play. Let's let them go up against, the best defensive player in this league every day and see how he does.
All right, guys like me, that since I'm not exactly studying the film, I listen to the people that talk about floors and ceilings, and then we assess value to that in the draft. And I'm guessing you're very different. Someone like you who's studying the way they move and their body type, you might have a different sense of this. But the only thing they said about Spencer that's bad is that, all right, he has a limited ceiling but a very high floor. Is that something you would ever sign off on, or do you think that's silly to put any kind of a ceiling on any of these prospects?
Yeah, no, I don't want to put any limits on any of these guys. Coaching matters. Who plays quarterback matters. Who plays next to the left tackle matters. I think all that stuff matters. And so you don't play the game in a vacuum. You don't play it in a phone booth separate from everything else. Everything else around it matters. They've rebuilt this, offensive line. It looks like on paper, it looks like it could be a pretty good group. Really, how they play together is the most important thing. And so I think, the opposition matters and who you're playing and where you're playing them. All that stuff matters. You get 17 cracks at it. You want to see improvement as a group now that you've kind of identified probably the 5 starters or, at least the 8 guys that are going to make this football team and try to make them better. I think right now they're in a pretty good position. But I think all this stuff matters, and the only thing that matters is how well you play on Sundays right now.
You mentioned the rebuilding of the offensive line. You obviously mentioned Casey Concepcion a little bit earlier. Clearly a lot of draft capital invested on the offensive side of the ball in this draft, and rightfully so. We know there's a quarterback competition that's unfolding here in Cleveland. Do you now feel that whoever wins that job is now supported by the offensive talent around them where we can sort of go through this next season and get a true feel of we have a franchise quarterback or we need to maybe invest in one next year in 2027?
Yeah, I think the team around whoever plays quarterback is much, much better. The receiving core was horrible last year. And, between the drops and inability to get open, I don't care who's playing quarterback, Flacco, Shador, Dillon, it was a horrible group. I think adding the 2 pieces that they did, the tight end coming back for a second year, the rookie running backs last year, now getting a year underneath them, they should be much better around whoever is playing quarterback and much more competitive. We know the defense is going to be good. It's the strength of the team. But, if you could keep the score at 17 points, the offense this year with what they have, whoever's playing quarterback should be able to generate 17 to 20 points and have a chance to win a lot more of these games.
So, Baldy joined us right now on the hotline, the Odyssey NFL analyst. There's been some early reporting after just a few install days that Sean Watson is actually the leader right now. Of course, is still so early. We had Todd Monken in studio on Friday, and he says he'd love to get just a depth chart rounded out at the quarterback position by June. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like there should be that kind of urgency to get that taken care of? Because obviously we see some of these quarterback competitions go right up until the start of the season.
Well, you can build. Look, Todd can try to get the depth chart figured out going into training camp. That means, at the end of June here when the OTAs all finish up. You could get the depth chart figured out. Some of these players, not just quarterbacks, some players don't play great until it's real football. You could go through all these training camp practices and you can chart how many completions they make a day or how many good throws. You can do all that stuff, and then you play these preseason games and sometimes you get a different result, and then you get to the regular season and you get a completely different result. So, yes, I think what Coach Monken is saying is he'd like to get a depth chart so that he knows who his number ones are, and they're going to get the majority of the work getting ready for the season. But honestly, September is the new August. And so sometimes you don't realize, what somebody is or how they move the team or how they make decisions until it really counts. And so you could do it so that, all right, Shador, is going to get X amount of snaps. Deshaun's going to get X amount of snaps with the first team and the first offensive line, and you can evaluate it. But that's just good in theory until you actually go out there and try to win a real football game and try to get to 1-0 right now.
Off of that, I think locally at least, Browns fans were intrigued by what we saw from Shador Sanders last year, but want to see more. We understand that based on what's been reported so far that maybe Deshaun is the leader in the clubhouse. However this shakes out and whatever order these guys end up in and whoever plays first, whatever sort of games Shador gets, or as he's kind of working and trying to get better in the preseason and training camp, what are the things that you need to see from Shador to get to feel like he can be the future for this franchise at that position?
Well, just all the basics, the completions, a number of completions. Does the team move when he's out there on the field? Can they convert on third down, stay on the field? Can he go through his progressions and find the right receiver against the right, coverage? All the stuff that quarterback play is about. Can you lead? Does his team respond to you in the huddle? All those things. You can. I think the naked eye can see it, But, Todd Monken knows what he's looking at. He's coached in the NFL and he's coached in college. He understands the necessity of the position to play at a very consistent rate, not turn the ball over, finish drives in the end zone and not kick field goals. All those things. He's had a chance to watch the MVP of the league, two-time MVP of the league, do it in practice, do it in games. So I think he has a pretty good measure of what it takes right now. I trust his judgment at that. That's why he's the head coach right now. And so he's got to make the right decision. And that's going to probably go a long time to deciding how long he's the coach of the Cleveland Browns right now.
Well, just because it went so bad with Watson when he was able to play, and then since then he had the surgeries. I asked Coach last week, are you supposed to be an objective, impartial observer, like they instruct the jury? How can you come in here and act like that hasn't happened? I mean, a new coach, how can they separate themselves from all that bad tape and try to find a way to either pin that on situation and that they can coach that out of them?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how that all gets done. I think you have to kind of come in tabula rasa, like just a clean slate, and let them just compete for wherever they're at, whatever age they are, whatever injuries they've overcome, whatever off-the-field issues there have been. I just think you got to try to make it as fair as possible and evaluate from what you see. I think Todd Monken remembers when Deshaun Watson went to Baltimore on one leg and beat him, a couple of years ago. I think Todd was probably the offense coordinator there in Baltimore. He probably witnessed it. I was there that day. I saw it. I didn't think it was really possible, but he made some incredible plays, some incredible athletic plays that day. And I remember his ankle was terrible, or knee, or whatever it was. I know he was hobbling at the end of the game, but he found a way to win. So I think it's just the only fair thing to do is just to, literally not have any sort of memory bank of what's happened before and let them. That's why he's there still. They still think there's some football left in him, and let the best man win the job right now. And I think that's what they're going to try to do with as much clarity as possible.
You talk about Todd Monken, and he's been very clear since he got here, Baldy, about his offense and that it's not really like a set system, that his goal is just to find what his players do well, what his team does well, what his offense does well, and maximize those things. It's honestly kind of refreshing to hear to a degree. Why aren't there more coaches that take that approach to offense, or if they're a defensive coach, their defense, and they kind of end up in a lane of we do this specific thing?
Well, I think that some coaches just know a particular system. But, I remember when, I've seen it so many times where they're just married to a system and that's all they can coach. And that's how they got the job. But I think what Todd's doing, he's been in college, he's been the coordinator, he's gone back and forth. I think this is a guy that's going to adjust his program right now and his offense to the talents that's around him, what they do best. It might depend on who's the quarterback and what we're going to do. That's the way it should be. You should be able to be flexible. And I remember when Terrell Owens came to Philadelphia, and Andy Reid was a West Coast offensive guy, and the X receiver was going to get 80 catches, and the Z's going to get 60, and the tight, and then T.O. came, and it was like bombs away. Well, we got a great deep threat. Why wouldn't Donovan McNabb take these shots down the field? They went all the way to the Super Bowl. So I think that's what you should do. You shouldn't be married. And all good coaches, whether it's Bill Walsh or I don't care, Cliff Kingsbury, they should have 10 new plays up on the board every single Monday, getting ready for the next week, depending on who's healthy, who's that quarterback, who the opponent is. And we're going to attack this way with who's healthy and who's there. That's what they should do. They should not be married to a particular system.
Baldy, we'll wrap up with this, and we appreciate your time, the Odyssey NFL analyst, so terrific on social media as well. Are you sick and tired of Aaron Rodgers?
No, because, he adds a lot to this league, whether it's decision and what he wants to do. We're talking about it. What else are we talking about? right now, if Aaron Rodgers is in Pittsburgh practicing or Aaron Rodgers has retired, we're talking about him. He gets people to talk about the game, and that's what we want, 365, 24/7. And he gets you to do that, whether it's good or bad or whatever, if it's off the field stuff or whatever his thinking is at the time. Is he married? Is he married? Who's he married to? Like, he gets us to talk about him. And so that's not a bad thing.
Sounds like he needs just a reality show, and Baldy will be a subscriber wherever it is.
Yeah, is he gonna, if he goes out for Celebrity Jeopardy, is he the favorite right now? I mean, that's Aaron.
Beautiful. All right, Baldy, we appreciate you coming on. Thanks, man. We'll do it again.
All right, guys, you got it, man.
All right, Brian Baldinger had something very interesting, very John Lockean for you ancient philosopher types on the tabula rasa, the clean slate for Deshaun Watson. Are you capable of doing that as a Browns fan?